Hello friends, and this is Sanket Upman here. Here we are to explore the Itaipu Dam, the magnificent picture of which is being shown here in the very first slide. Let's begin. Before moving further, these are our objectives to which we'll touch upon. These include the structural aspect, the technical aspect, the environmental aspect, and the social aspect. Because knowing only the structural aspect or we say the technical aspect leads us to only the halfway. So knowing all about the structure serves a purpose. Now it comes the location of Itaipu Dam. As the word Itaipu is not that much of familiar between a common mass, and also it has been prevalent in the Spanish and the Portuguese words. So here is the location of it, which is situated between the Brazil and Paraguay. Here we are having two images mainly. The bottom one is of the main South America continent. We can see here that between the tri-junction of Paraguay, Brazil and Argentina, we can see a red star being marked, and that is the Itaipu Dam. While in the image which has been shown in the top, we can see that some minor blue lines are being going there from Paraguay to Brazil, and there in between these two countries the Itaipu is there. So the Itaipu Dam is situated on the Paraná River, located on the border between Brazil and Paraguay in the continent of South America. So here we are clarifying the location of it, and it has been included in one of the 7 wonders of the modern world by the American Society of Civil Engineers. So this point drastically increases our curiosity to know that what's that much of special in it that it has been included in the 7 wonders of the modern world. Moving further, as we know that knowing the history of something, it makes us realize that where we are heading. In the year of 1960s, Brazil and Paraguay had the negotiations, as at that time both countries are facing power crisis, and as the Paraguay is a much smaller nation as compared to Brazil, so there were negotiations going on, a collaboration between the two nations. As a result, the Iguaca Act being signed in the year of 1960s. In the subsequent years of 1970, there was a bid organized where all the competitors had been participate, but the consortium of two companies, which were ELC Electroconsult SP of Italy and ICO USA, won the project bid for the construction of Itaipu Dam. In the next year, of which is of course the 1971, the design studies began and the Itaipu Financial Entity signed. So we can take here that the main construction has been initiated from the year 1917, because when the design studies have been initiated, we are taking the starting of a construction period. So from 1971 the construction initiated. The next major step in the construction which had been taken was in the year 1978. So that's also been highlighted here. Here the Paraná River rerouted and a dry riverbed section was made for the dam building. So it's much of a significant point that Paraná River, the 7th largest river we are having on the earth, was rerouted for the construction. Such was a huge area which was required for the dam building construction. In the year of 1979, Acuerdo Tripartite was signed. The Acuerdo Tripartite itself in Spanish mean an agreement, but for the English purpose, we had mentioned the word agreement here. It was signed between Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. As we had seen in the map, that this occurs in the tri-junction of Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. So, for maintaining the river levels, this accord has been signed in the year of 1979. In the year 1982, the reservoir formation began. That's the final part of a construction, and it ended in the year of 1984, so that all the operations were started. So we can take here the construction period from 1971 to 1984. After that, it was soothing and booming in each day. So it's as a result, in the year of 2007, the capacity expansion took place, and in the addition of 18 generation units which already existed there, 2 were added to make up to the 20. Seeking the dam type, the Itaipu Dam is combination of gravity, buttress and embankment sections. The construction period we had just seen, it was from 1971 to 1984, height being 196 meter, length being 7.19 meter, and subsequently all the details technical are being mentioned here. Dam volume, catchment area, we can see how much large is the catchment area, because of which a river was being rerouted. So because of the requirement of this huge catchment area, it was done so. Here we'd also mentioned the spillway capacity, reservoir capacity, installed capacity, and the annual generation as of the year 2018. Further, it has been one of the most asked question that where the word Itaipu had come in from. So the word Itaipu in the Guarani language means this sounding stone. So at the site where this dam has been constructed, once upon a time there existed an isle. So it had the name Itaipu, from which it had been taken. This hydroelectric power plant produced the second most energy of any in the world as of 2020. This one statement is enough to tell its significance that after the Three Gorges Dam of China, it was the second most energy producing dam in the world in the current year. As we know, it's a binational undertaking run by Brazil and Paraguay border. Another landmark here mentioned to identify the location, which is Friendship Bridge. So, in the in the southward of the Friendship Bridge, this dam is being situated, and for the dam in the northward, the Friendship Bridge is being situated 15 kilometers away from it. Next, here is the 20 generator units installed at present, and out of which the 10 generate at 50 Hz for the nation of Paraguay and 10 generate for 60 Hz for the nation of Brazil. Coming to the structural design, Itaipu is actually 4 dams joined together. From the far left, an earth-filled dam, a rock-filled dam, a concrete buttress main dam, and a concrete wing dam to the right. So we can have just an idea that how huge is this construction, because it's actually this summation of 4 small dams joined together. The main dam, including the left wing connecting, it's a hollow gravity concrete structure of buttress type founded on basalt, having total length of 1064 meter and crest at level of 225 meter. Here we had the required concrete volume of 52 lakh meter cube. Such is a huge volume that we had required. Next is the right bank lateral dam. It connects main dam to the spillway by this massive head buttress dam, 986 meter long, crest at elevation being 225 meter and maximum height being 64.5 meter with curved design. Then it comes at number 3 is the earth filled dams. For those spots where more than 15 meter of soil overlay the basalt and rockfill type being not economical. So the earthfill dam has been built at the site where the rockfill type dam was not economical and there was soil overlaying the basalt. Further, we had the rockfill dam. So it was economic in place of diversion channel, so it was made, and it's located on left bank, having crested elevation of 225 meter with length 1984 meter and maximum height of 70 meter and having impervious clay nucleus in center. Here we comes to the spillway, which we know has its function of discharges excess water flows. It constitutes of approach channel with control structure with chutes plus discharge bucket. It had 14 gates at present with the dimensions given and the length, crest and elevation and concrete volume which were required for the construction. Moving on to further, we had the water intake and penstocks. These are used to intake and control water flow through penstocks into turbine of generating units. These are 20 in number with 18 working and 2 in reserve. We are having the penstocks diameter of 10.5 meter with flow capacity of 700 meter cube per second and length of 142.2 meter. Now we are having powerhouse and assembly areas with 18 generating units having 34 meter space in between with length, maximum height, width and concrete volume being given. Now in this slide we had the penstock view. Initially what we had seen in the general dam, that's so much simple that we had in intake and we are having penstock and only a single pipe is leading to the reservoir for a showcase purpose. But here we can see how complex is this, and from outer side we can see that how huge this construction is. Let's have a look on it. Now moving on to the next slide. This is what the general layout is. We can summarize here what we have learned till now, because it may be a matter of confusion that how the 4 small dams or how those small 4 structures are being combined to make this huge structure. So here we can see the point to be noted here is that in the between lies the border between Brazil and Paraguay. In the right side we had the nation Brazil being mentioned in the black font on the blue surface, while in the left side in the black font it is being mentioned the Paraguay. So in between where the main dam is being situated, it's the border. Moving from left to right, we have the spillway, then it comes the right bank, then it comes the right bank lateral dam, then we have the main dam, After that we have the diversion structure. Including it, we are having all those accessories such as powerhouse, left wing, all there. After that we had the reservoir, which is made up of Rockville Dam and the left earthfill. Now we come on to the forces acting on dam. As we know, the Itaipu Dam is being combination of gravity plus buttress plus embankment sections. So we are having all the major forces acting onto the dam. The most important forces being weight of dam itself, it's the self weight, the water pressure, then we move on to the uplift pressure, wave pressure, earthquake forces, silt pressure, and ice pressure. Ice pressure here is not that much of significant because ice doesn't hails here in the Parana River in the South America, but it's just for the purpose of understanding. Discussing each force individually, the water pressure is one of the mass major external force acting on gravity dam. The horizontal water pressure exerted by the water stored on the upstream side of a dam can be collected from hydrostatic pressure distribution. And if having tailwater on downstream side, we'll be having vertical components too. So in this figure, we can see that the force WH square by 2 is being applied from the distance h by 3 from the base, and if we are having tailwater on downstream side, we'll be having the vertical component of it also. Now comes the uplift pressure. This is the water seeping through pores and fissures of the foundation materials and water seeping through the dam of the body and there to the bottom through the joints between the body of the dam and its foundation at the base. This all exerts an uplift pressure on the base of the dam. And this kind of uplift pressure virtually reduces the downward weight of body of dam and hence it acts against the dam stability. The point to be noted, it acts against the dam stability. It is assumed that uplift pressure are not affected by the earthquake forces. Further, it can be controlled by constructing weight of walls under the upstream face, by constructing drainage channel between the dam and its foundation, and by pressure grouting the foundation. Next, here comes the self weight and the mighty earthquake forces. The self weight of dam, it's another major resisting force we have. In the case of Itaipu itself, we can see chunks of volumes of concrete being used in order to make it stable and counteract all other major forces. Here is the analysis that how we calculate it. We divide the entire cross section of dam into various rectangles and triangles into two-dimensional way, and then to find out the weight of each part using the center and inertia points that we had found out previously of each part. The resultant of all these is then found out to find the total weight of the dam. Such is the analysis, because in the 3D we can't have the idea about the rectangles and the triangles, so we divide it into 2D format, and then knowing the inertia points and the center of mass points, we collectively find the total weight of the dam. Then comes the earthquake forces. An earthquake force produces waves which are capable of shaking the dam in every possible direction. The effect of earthquake is equivalent to imparting an acceleration to the foundation of dam in the direction in which the wave is traveling at the moment. So this acceleration can be split into two components, the values of the horizontal acceleration and the vertical acceleration, both being mentioned here. Another mighty pressure we are having is the silt pressure. Supposing h is the height of silt deposited, then force exerted by the silt in addition to the external water pressure can be represented by this formula as proposed by Rankine. So it's here P silt equals to half gamma submerged h square Ka, and it acts at h by 3 from the base. Same distance. Initially we had learned that the water pressure acts at distance h by 3 from the base. So Ka value is 1 minus sin phi by 1 plus sin phi. The gamma submerged being the submerged unit weight of silt material, we know, and h is the height of silt deposited. And if the upstream face is inclined, the vertical weight of the silt which is supported on the slope will also act as a vertical force. So these are the values as per the USBR mentioned here. Now coming on to the ice pressure, it's applied for structures of those areas where ice walls had previously mentioned also, but in the circulation of a Itaipu river flowing Parana, ice doesn't fall here. Thus, we are not considering that much, but these values are being fixed and being incorporated in only those areas where the ice falls. Then here comes the wave pressure. Waves are generated on the surface of the reservoir by blowing winds, which can cause a pressure towards the downstream side wave pressure, and it depends upon the wave height. Wave height may be given by the following equation: HW equals to 0.032 under root Vf plus 0.763 minus 0.271 f to the power 3 by 4 for F values less than 32, while the HW equals to height of water from top of crest to bottom of trough in meters. V is the wind velocity in kilometer per hour. F is fetch or straight length of water expanse in kilometer. The maximum pressure intensity is given by PW equals to 2.4 gamma W HW and acts at HW by 2 meter above the silt water surface. The pressure distance is assumed to be triangular of height 5 HW by 3, hence the force due to the wave action. These are being summarized and calculated as 19.62 H square W, and these varies with the values of H. And this force also acts at a distance of 3 by 8 HW above the reservoir surface. So up till now we had discussed the structural and technical part. Now we are moving on to the environmental and social impacts. So in one or two slides it's very difficult to mention all the environmental and social impacts it had caused, but we'll try to show a glimpse. 10,000 families living beside Parana River were displaced. A huge human crisis was being caused by the construction of this dam. Jera Falls inundated by Itaipu Reservoir. Once upon a time, before the year 1982, one of the beautiful falls of the world and the seventh most fastly falling Jera Falls were there, but they completely disappeared because of the formation of Itaipu Dam there. It had serious effect on 129 bird species, 32 species of mammals, and 9 species of reptiles. In addition, 149 workers died in accidents during dam construction. Broadly, we can say of vast areas, rainforest and ecological species being vanished. And last but not the least, there is a loss of archaeological sites, such as the huge cost, Alberta we had paid for coming out of this marvelous structure that we say at present. Despite being the huge cost we had paid, if it can be termed as overall success, if yes, then why, and if no, then why? Let's find out. Despite heavy costs, Itaipu Dam emerged as an environmental, fiscal, and political success. Why? Because of the large hydroelectric energy production saved each country financially. There is employment generation with annual production of over 90 million megawatt hertz on average. Itaipu is avoiding emission of 38 million tons of CO2 per year. This figure has to be noted because it's avoiding emission of 38 million tons of CO2 per year in this age, where we are rushing towards our sustainable development goals, which are being actively co-sponsored upon the 2015 Paris Agreement, and it had undertaken 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, as of 2015 Paris Agreement. Another point here is it supplies 17% of Brazilian consumption and 78% of Paraguay's total consumption. The importance of this structure can be well understood that it nearly 80%, we can say it's 78%, we can take it nearly 80% of Paraguay's needs are being fulfilled by a single dam. Such is the dependent on it. So based on these, we can term it as an overall success. But yes, we know we had paid a huge cost for coming out of this. Thank you all for listening to this. Pardon for having the English pronunciation of Spanish and Portuguese words used here. And all the suggestions for the enhancement of video quality and the content are welcomed.